Yeah, so I'm making two types of bread today. I'm making regular white bread, which is in this big ass bowl that I have to punch down and shape and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to make pitas, which is the flour, yeast, and salt right here. So first we're going to do this. I'm actually, let's see how it falls. Like as soon as you pull it out, all that air kind of comes out. But I'm going to actually put one in the freezer for a few days from now because we just don't need to eat that much bread. Shape it how you want it, and I just want a loaf, so that's close enough to a loaf. Even though I'm going to put it in the freezer, I'm going to put it in the pan and then freeze it because it'll still try to rise a little bit in the freezer, and so it kind of keeps its shape, and then I can put it in a plastic wrap or plastic bag. Don't really need too much grease because I'm just going to take it out. So I'll put this one in the freezer. Do this. So it's all nice and greased so it won't stick. I have to use my sinks because I have a tiny ass kitchen. Just, I don't know, about a tablespoon or so of flour. Put it in here. So this one, it's going to be like this. Flatten it out and then just roll it over and shape it into the loaf that you want. I'm just doing regular old loaf because I just want bread so we can have sandwiches and whatnot. So kind of roll the ends underneath and make it look pretty, you know, in the loaf pan. A little bit of oil on the top just to keep it from drying out while it's rising the second time. Just a little bit. If you have pan spray, that's a really easy thing to use instead of putting oil. I could have did it before I put it in the pan. It would have made it easier. Anyway, I'm going to leave it alone. Put it over on the stove to rise. It's going to rise twice as big. It'll be up as high as the pan. So as you can see, it only fills it about halfway or so. This calls for a lot more wheat flour than I actually have, so it's not too much of a big deal. I just used more white flour. It's calling for 1 1/8 cup of warm water and 2 tablespoons of orange juice. That makes 1 1/4 cups, so I've got my water hot. I'm going to add it to my 2 tablespoons of juice right here. This is the flour, the salt, and the yeast, and it calls for no sugar. Anyway, so that's in here, and then I just mix those 3 things together. And then, just to make it easy on measuring and not having to do too much, I take my tablespoon and I just press it down into the flour and make a well. This calls for only 2 tablespoons of flour. So there's 2 tablespoon size wells in my flour. And I just pour my oil right in. See, it's just 2 holes. There's some oil now. It's pouring out. Then I'm going to take my water that I made over here warm. It's got to be about 120 to 130 degrees. Any hotter than 140, you're going to kill your yeast altogether. We are down to about 127 degrees, which is about what I like to have it at. So just pour it right in over the oil and the flour and everything. Just like that. And then just start mixing. I think I like this dough. It's already coming together. Really nice. It's a mess. It makes a huge mess, and that's okay because it all goes back together really nice when you have it all out. Let's see, there's a little stuff in here still, but you basically use the bowl just to mix it up. So just kind of get everything together. I know it's all over the place, so like I said, anything that fell out, just kind of This is the fun part. This part right here and this part right here. These are your most important for this. So you're going to take this hand and grab like that. This hand, you're going to push and then fold. Push and fold. And it's just really easy. But I do it faster, so. I've been making bread for us, exclusively homemade, for over a year, and I've just made bread through the years as I've gotten older. Anyway, so one technique that really helps stretch out the gluten strands, you'll see how they break up really easy right now because we just started. They don't really want to stretch too much, they want to just break. So I learned this. I'm going to do this. Flop it down, fold it over, pick it up from the side, and repeat. Push down sometimes. Doing this helps really stretch the gluten strands. So as you can see, it's smoother already, not as able to break up as much. It's a little bit more like dough, but you just keep doing it until you notice the difference. The dough will kind of feel a little bit waxy. I'm not sure how to describe it, but the way that the water and the flour mix together, you kind of feel like the dough is a little bit sweaty, I guess is a good way to describe it. I'm just kind of forming it into a ball. That's usually about good. I don't know how long that was, but it's a pretty good dough. It's a little bit, could use a little bit more, I guess, but usually once you're done and you let it rise, that second time you pull it out, you'll see how nice your dough is. So you can see how it's nice and stretchy. The dough kind of springs back. I'm not sure if you can tell. See how it moves. So we're going to just call it good. So we're going to just fold it over into a little bowl. And I kind of like to flatten it out because I'm going to put it in the bowl. So nice pretty dough. But the reason I wanted to make these separate from each other was because the bread is 350 degrees and the pitas are 400 degrees. So these need to be ready last. And I'll do these after I bake my bread. It'll be rising while my bread is finishing rising and baking. Because it'll take about an hour and the dough needs to rise about an hour. So just a little bit of oil again. Cover, and you just put it back in the bowl and leave it for an hour. You don't have to cover it with anything. If it's got oil on it, it's not going to really dry out. But for now, we're going to wait for an hour. So my bread is at already, just in that few minutes, we're here. So I've probably got about another 15 minutes and then I'm going to put it in the oven. So I'm going to turn my oven on right now. Alright, so we are into getting this risen, and I've got about 12 minutes left on the other bread that's in the oven. This recipe says to let it rest for 10 minutes after making 8 different pieces. So we got to split it into 8. There's my 8 pieces. We'll let them rest for 10 minutes. Okay, it's time to get it out of the pan. So this is my bread, nice and fat and fluffy above the top of the lid. And nice and brown on the bottom. Doesn't necessarily have an even bottom because you roll it in. That doesn't matter. It cuts and it's edible. This is what it should sound like. And it's super hot. That's why I have a pot holder. Just set it to cool on a rack or on a lint-free linen or something like that. Alright, now my pan is in the oven, greased lightly, really, really lightly so they won't stick. Time to roll these babies out. I think I'll probably only be able to bake them 1 or 2 at a time just because my pan is not that big, but that's what this is what they look like here. So I'm just going to take a little bit of flour and sprinkle it out. If you've made homemade pizza or tortillas or anything that you have to roll like that, you'll know that this is not that hard. Seems like a lot, but just dust a little bit, and then I like to kind of make sure they're a little bit round because we're rolling in a circle. So it says to roll it to about 6 to 7 inches, so I think that maybe it's going to be a little bit fat. Roll the flour on here, and then just I like to roll forward, backward, and turn it a quarter turn, and then roll forward and backward. And then this is kind of square right now, but flipped it over because there's this little notch right here. I'm gonna kind of roll that way, and then this part right here I'm gonna roll that way, and it'll round that out. That way and that way. So now this is the part that was straight. So that's simple. I mean, there's a lot of flour. You just do this. The dough is pretty resilient. Get some of that stuff off. Not too bad. That's the oven at 400. I've got my first 2. All funky shaped, but whatever. And I'm going to put these on the pan for 4 minutes. Flip them, cook them another 4 minutes, I think, and then take them out. So hopefully I can get the rest rolled while I do that. A couple of them. Hot pan. 1, 2, timer for 4 minutes. Now that's cooking in 4 minutes. I've got flour all over me. I'm 2 pitas in. I've got 6 left. I'm going to put 2 more in just a second. But this is what they look like when they're done. I'm not sure I'm too impressed. I got to put the pan back in the oven. Put these on that pan right there. And get this hot again. And then I'll roll out more. Let's see, we'll do 1 minute, should be enough to get it hot, and then I'll roll out the rest of these. And I would say, well, there's my hot temperature for my pan. That's about good, so I'm going to put these 2 in next. Turn it off. Just pop them right on a hot pan. Don't move it after you touch it. I like to wrap my tortillas and breads in a clean towel after cooking them, and this is clean, so I'm going to put them right in here. They'll get nice and soft. So, on top right there. I'm not worried about the flour all over 4 minutes per side. Flip them 2 minutes per side, and that 2 that you saw already is what you'll get when we're done. Yay, they're done. I'm excited. Last 2. Super hot. We are going to put them right here. A nice fat stack, and I'm going to slice this bread here in a second. Woo! Hot, hot. So because these are the last ones, I'm going to flip them to the bottom, and the first ones will be on top. That's 8. This is my cast iron skillet. Holds heat real nice, but these are nice 8 fresh. And then we're going to cut this pretty loaf of bread because, let me cover these, because I want to try it. I want to see how pretty it looks. So I'll take off my cloth. This is just, I think it's a napkin. I don't know, a cloth napkin, but it's lint free. I really like it. So to wrap your bread in before you cover it in plastic, we're going to cut into this side. Wow, pretty bread. Nice. Nice and yummy. It's still a little bit warm too, so yeah, I'm gonna be eating this really good. This is good bread. Perfect. Try it. I'll post both recipes.